So my friend Alan has 3D printed me this Mandalorian helmet, and there were a number of styles to choose, and I went for this one, which is, as you can see, it's not a T-visor. It's more like a sunglasses version, because I went for this because I thought it's a bit unusual, and also I could do it and paint it as if it's not necessarily a Mandalorian helmet from Star Wars. That was the plan, but the more I look at it, especially as I've started putting the filler on, he's looking an awful lot like Mr. Snuffleupagus off of Sesame Street. So that, and the fact that Mandalorian season 3 started yesterday, has got me thinking that maybe I might convert this, and I might get the, you know, the T-visor. I might cut down and remove a centre bit. I don't know. I'll see how I feel once I've done all the filling. Yeah, this has got like a couple of layers of Halford's filler primer, but you can see there are still tons of the notorious 3D printing ridging. It was very bad up here, very bad, as you can see. Look at the size of those gaps. So that's actually P38 car filler that I smeared on that before I started priming. All right, so I'm just building up layers of the filler primer. It's good stuff. It's going to take a while. It's going to take quite a few coats. I don't want to do tons of sanding. I don't like sanding of these 3D prints. So I'm just going to keep covering it and covering it with car filler, and then give it a final sand down. All right. And then decide whether I'm going to cut that out. I think I will. I'm not looking forward to it. One of the other reasons I went for this is when I cut the eye bit out, that's not going to be too hard to or difficult to actually fit a strip of like coloured dark plastic in there. Whereas if you're doing the T-visor, you've got quite a big sheet and it could be trickier. So, but I don't, yeah, I want a Mandalorian helmet. I think I'm going to cut it out. Well, it's been ages since the last part. I've had so many other projects and models to build and stuff, and yeah, and I have been working on it. I've been putting on multiple layers of filler primer. You can still see there's still some ridging evident, but I'm going to be doing more sanding than I thought I would, because I had to make a decision about, you know, the T-visor, just how big the T-visor would be, and season 3 of Mandalorian is on now, so we've got a lot of Mando action. So I've been studying their helmets, so to speak, and I've come to the opinion that when you see, like, you know, toy Mandalorian helmets or knockoff ones, what always looks wrong is when the upright part of the T-visor is too wide. There's a Foundling Mandalorian in the latest episode, and his is like too wide. It doesn't look right. I much prefer them narrower. So what I've done is, yeah, I've made it narrow, but instead of just going straight down, I've done it at an angle just to give a bit more interest, and then cut it out. And what I hadn't realised, because I'm new to all this 3D lark, is that it's not solid. It's got a lattice work, like a honeycomb. So of course all this is going to have to be filled and then sanded. So and more filler primer, and it's incredibly rough at the moment, as you can see. Yeah, this took quite a lot of work with the old Dremel. Stank as well cutting this out. So I scored it with a Stanley knife, then went in with my Dremel, and then the whacking great big saw. I haven't been this brutal with a modelling project since I made my Sand Trooper armour all those years ago, and that was vac form plastic, which was quite light. This is sturdy. I thought when I cut that out that it would become incredibly flimsy. It absolutely is not. All right, so that's the visor cut out. What I quite like is, you know, this one obviously, as you saw, didn't have a T-visor. It had this like sunglasses effect, and that's gone now, but it has left quite a narrow slit for the eyes, and I like that. I quite like that this bit is narrow and this bit is tapering. I was actually going to take the corner off, but no, I'm happy with that. So I've just got to sand all these burrs off, and then it's out with the old P38 car filler and splodge it all in there, and then on with the sanding. Change of plan. I thought filling in all that lattice work with car filler is going to be time consuming, expensive, messy, and an awful lot of work, especially to get in down in there. All right, so what I'm doing, this is very crude, but what I'm doing is I've got plasticard, and what I'm doing is I'm roughly cutting. I've done everything. I've done these two, that one and that one. This is the last one, and so what I do is I get a bit of thin plasticard, crudely cut some out, offer it up, hold it in place, turned it upside down, drew that line, cut it out, and as you can see, I've just held it in place. Next thing I'm going to do, turn the helmet upside down, cut along the side, that side, cut there, and then that will give me these little strips, you see. And I've already tested it, and plasticard sticks brilliantly with super glue. So the idea is super glue these on, and when they're set, then rub down the join between the two. Hopefully that hasn't raised the plasticard isn't that thick that it's going to reduce vision in the eye slit. But I figure that's a lot less faffing this way than the other way. Quite a step forward. So I've put the 4 plasticard strips in. They glued very, very well with super glue. Waited for them to set, and put a load of filler in. Now it looks a bit clumsy in that, but this is P38 car filler, which I got from Halfords, which is our place over here for anything for car accessories. And I always use this because not only does it set very, very quickly, but it sands down very, very easily and very smoothly. So that's what I'm in the process of doing right now. There we go. All the filler sanded down, lovely and smooth. The stuff really sands down so easily. And yeah, if you go through the grades of sandpaper and then into the fine wet and dry, it gives a lovely smooth finish. There's no ridging at all. I can't feel any ridging at all now. There's a little bit up here still, and I'm going to address that because the next development is I've stuck the ears on, and these I haven't rubbed down in the slightest. So, but I'm thinking that might not be too bad, because what I'm going to do next is put one more coat of filler primer on, just to see how we go. And from then onwards, I mean, it's looking Boba Fett-esque, but I want to go my own way. I know I have with the custom T-visor, but it doesn't come with any of his sighting devices, and there's nothing for at the back. So I'm going to raid my bits box and just add some more greeblies, but I'll do that after I've put another filler primer coat on. All right, rather than sanding down the small amount of ridging here, as you can see, I've put on each side a bit of plasticard. All right, and then that's going to be relatively plain, that side. This is the side that's got the light and the targeting device. So plasticard down here just for a little bit of interest. That's a piece off of that 1/24 scale Mustang kit. that I've got tons of bits left over for. So I thought that's quite interesting. That'll look quite nice on a head-on shot. That little hole I filled with a tank wheel. And yeah, his little targeting device thing is going to be made from, I thought as a little in joke, there's a bit of the old Luke's X-Wing fighter. That's going to go kind of like that there, and into the top of that, into the top of that piece of plastic rod, capped with a Lego piece, and then the actual light target thing is this. It's just a 1/72 scale tank turret, which I've put a bit of plastic card on. I'm going to drill a hole there, and that's just going to go there, and it's just going to be small on the side there. Put a couple of extra little greeblies on it, but I don't want it to be too big, because with his ears on, he is rather wide, this helmet, and I thought too much on here is going to make it look much too big. So it's going to be kind of like up there like that. All right. Oh, and the other thing is I've been cutting up pieces. This is for the very back of the helmet, but when I come back, I'll have all that attached and ready for more primer. All right, so that's the doohickey attached, and around the back I've got some detail. So now it's time for another coat of primer, but this time grey. Right, so there she is in grey primer, all ready to go with the colours. And what I've decided colour-wise to do is orange for the top and in here, and white for the surrounding area. What is red on the Boba Fett one will be white on mine. So I've just come back from the car shop, and I'm going with Mazda Arctic White. I could use white primer, but white primer is always too white. It's too stark. This has got a little bit of warmth to it, so that's going to be on there. And this is almost the brightest orange I could find. Volkswagen Brilliant Orange. There is a brighter one, but that's a pearlescent orange, and I'm not going there. So next step is paint these. Now, normally when I use spray paints, logically you go lightest first because you get better coverage. If you put the darkest colour on first and you've got to put light, then you've got to put multiple coats. It's always easier to go light to dark. So logically I should paint this area white first, then mask it off, and then spray orange. But I'm thinking that's going to be a bit of a swine. If this is white, this is going to be a bit of a swine to get the masking tape all the way around there. I think it's easier to actually paint it orange first, and then I can easily put a strip of masking tape around there and then do white. All right, so yeah, I'm going to start masking up and get the orange on. Well, I'm not feeling this. The problem is, this is the colour orange I want for the helmet, but it's not. It's actually darker than it appears on camera. I think it's the background that's fooling it. Yeah, it's quite a bit darker, and the problem with that is when I do the weathering, it's going to darken things down. So I can't have it too dark to begin with, because when I darken it down, it's going to get even darker. This needs to be lighter. I need it to be this sort of colour, like an orange, fruit orange colour, and it's not. So I think what I'm going to have to do is, when this has dried, I'm going to put a light white coat on, and then that over. I did what it said. The can says put it over grey primer, which I did, but no, it's too dark. I want this, not what it actually is. Not sure if this looks any different in tone than before, but it is. It's worked very well. Yeah, it's looking rather dark up here. It's just the light's not good today. This is more the colour it is, and that's the result of, as I say, putting a coat of white over it and then putting orange on and not putting too many coats on. So I've got a nice bright orange to work with. There we go, factory finish. Quite happy with that. There's an awful lot of white, but the cheekbones, for want of a better term, are going to be a different colour. But next thing I've got to do, it is really quite shiny, and the next step will be weathering. And if I try putting weathering washes over a glossy surface, it's just going to bead up and look terrible. So next thing is a coat of matte varnish. Oh, by the way, his scope has pinged off. That's why it's not in this shop. Yeah, you can see here how shiny it is, apart from that bit there, which is my Vallejo green brown. No, green brown? Yeah, green brown, yeah. So they're the three colours, but yeah, far too shiny. So the matte varnish should be arriving today. So we're nearly there now. Well, with the matte varnish applied, that's the last of the spraying done. So it's out with the biggest paintbrush I've got, and we're going to dirty this fella down. It's a very messy job, hence the opened up bin liner to just keep everything non-messy. If I can, I'll come back during the process and just show you what I'm doing. Getting paint all over my phone, but here we go. So in an old Chinese takeaway dish, I've got a couple of browns and some black. Over here I've got a big cup of water, and what I'm doing is I'm sloshing a bit of black and a bit of that brown, a bit of that brown, getting it all together, get a nice washy mess, and then I'm dabbing it on. It looks horrible, but the trick is you then get some toilet roll. The cheaper the better, the worse quality the better, and you scrunch it up so it's not smooth, and what you start to do is dab it off like so, and you keep going and keep going, and you take off as much as you want, and if you take off too much you can dab some back on. I want the white to be quite apparent, so I'm going to keep dabbing at this. Crucial in this is like that bit there. I'm liking that bit, so I'm going to stay away from that. All right, you can see patterns emerge that you like, and you go, okay, I'm not going to go near that. I want it quite dirty in the eye slit. You've got to move pretty fast, but it's good. The crucial thing that you absolutely must not do when doing anything this way is wipe it. If you wipe it, it looks exactly like what you've done. You've put on some paint and you've wiped it off. Just keep dabbing and dabbing and dabbing, all right? As you can see, there's a difference between the undone side and the done side. This is working well, I'm enjoying it. Also, sometimes you get bits of the toilet roll come off, and I always leave them on because I can paint them. That's a nice bit of like rusty detail or something. I'm going to put the phone down now because I can see this is drying and I want to get more white off than that, all right? So I'll come back once I've completed it. There we go. I'm happy with that. By using black and a couple of shades of brown and randomly mixing it, when you apply it and then dab it off, you get different shades. Some of it is black, some of it is more of a grey, some of it is a warmer brown, all right? So I'm quite happy with that. Alas, I've lost that lump that I like there when I was dabbing off this area. But you can see around here that I've gained some of these blobs, which I think I'm going to paint as metallic, as if the metal's showing through, the Beskar is showing through. I quite like this line up here, which is completely random, as I say. I mean, this way of doing things, it's all very organic and you can't predict. I quite like that. It looks like there's a blaster scorch mark has gone across. So once this is dry, and it's going to take a long time to dry, the next thing is to, pick out metallics, these little scabby bits, but also I'm going to have some scuffing along the edges. Absolutely 100% what I must not do, and have completely got to avoid, is put metallics in anywhere where the metallics were visible on Boba Fett's helmet. I don't want this looking like it's a Boba Fett, you know, clone. So yeah, happy with that. I'll come back with metallics applied, and then all that needs to be done is put in the visor material. Well, the next step was to put paint chippings and metallics in where the paint's worn away, and I dug out my little nifty Boba Fett one to show me where not to put them. But then I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, and I thought, no, even if I put metallics on in different places, it still looks like I'm following the Boba Fett way of doing things, and I don't want to do that. I want my one dirty, but not necessarily, you know, falling apart like Boba. So I don't know if you can see, but I have been putting metallics in. Now with the Mandalorian show, we know that it's Beskar, so no rust, just a silvery colour, and it's here and there, and I'm just starting to, you know, those little bits of toilet roll that got stuck on there, picking out the centres of that with metal. I'm going to go in just with a small brush and refine some of the darker areas and finish them off. All right, so I'm nearly there, but there's been a delay, and that is I ordered some dark green clear plastic for the visor material, and it's come, but alas, it is clear and it is dark green, but it's frosted. So number one, you won't be able to see out, which isn't a problem. This is just for display. It's not that I'm going to make a whole outfit and troop in it. So there's that. But the other thing is, I want that to be shiny. I like when we're watching the Mandalorian, you know, the shininess there, look, of the visor, and I want that. So that's a shame. I bought that for nothing. But now what I've got on order is some lighting gel, dark green lighting gel, you know, because that is totally clear because you put it in front of a lamp. So I think next time I come back, everything will be done. Back on track. This is a few days later. Yeah, I ordered some lighting gel. It's what I should have done in the first place. Got some lighting gel off of eBay. I've got, I think, 5 sheets of it. As you can see, this first one is just one sheet. That's exactly the colour I want, but I think you're going to see through it. So what I'm going to do is experiment, just lay a few layers on until I get the darkness that I want. Dark enough that you can't see inside the helmet, but light enough that you can see out. All right. And then the other thing is what I'm doing, what I've got here is just a piece of paper which I've taped inside the helmet, and then I drew roughly where the visor had to go, cut that out. There we go, like that. All right, and that seems to be working all right. So I'm going to take that out now and lay it on a piece of the plastic, and we're almost done. And there we go. We are done. I can see out. Hopefully you can't see in. So there we go. All done. This has been an unusual project, but a fun one. Thanks to Alan for 3D printing me it. And yeah, next Wednesday, I think I'll be wearing this when I watch the next episode of The Mandalorian, because this is the way.